is a man who is today he's 91 years old, and so he lives in France, where I live too. And when I was little, I didn't know anything about his past. But while growing up, I realized that he was involved in the resistance in France as a forger. He used to make forged documents for the resistance people, and also for the Jews, of course, because they were the ones who needed them the most. And his network, he was working for different networks during the resistance, but the one he used to do the most of papers for was specialized in saving the children. In France, there were something like more than 7,000 children who has been saved because they've been hidden by farmers in France. So thanks to the hospitality of French people, some of them, not all of them. There was a lot of collaboration. But some people saved all these children, and at the time, even small children needed papers because there was some restriction for food. So they needed to have a card for food, to get food. Even a baby, even a 2-month baby needed that. And if this baby was Jewish, for example, if his name was Abraham Israelovich, so of course he was known as a Jew. And on top of that, they had the stamp, the big stamp on all the papers, the big stamp with written Jew. If somebody had this kind of card, of course he could be arrested and sent to Auschwitz. So my father was very, very old, very young when he was involved in the resistance, because at first when World War II happened, he was living in Normandy with his family. So he was living in Normandy, and at the beginning of the war, he was not in Normandy. Things were going better than in Paris, for example. The big roundups were happening in Paris, and in Normandy they were kind of living in a better way. But then the Nazis arrived, and they killed his mother, and they've been able, they've been rounded up with the few Jews they found in Normandy. There were very few, and they've been sent to a concentration camp in France called Drancy, near Paris, which was a big concentration camp in which they were not dying; they were just being sent there before being sent to Auschwitz. And normally you would go there and never come back because and they managed to be released from the camp because they were carrying Argentinian nationality. And at the time, Argentina was not really ally of the Nazis, but they had economical agreements. And Argentina was defending their citizens. So even if the Jews are not Jews, they were Argentinian citizens, and they couldn't be sent to Auschwitz. So he stayed in this camp during 3 months. It was the maximum that you could stay in Drancy camp. And afterward, they've been released from the camp. And when they've been released and stayed in Paris, the agreement between Argentina and the Nazis stopped. So now they were in danger, and they needed to hide, so they needed forged papers. And he's been hired by the resistance network when he was trying to get his own forged documents to survive. And the fact is, so he was 17 years old at the time, and when he went to a meeting with a guy from the resistance, a young man, he had his ID photographs to put on the papers. And at the time, in your papers, you would have your craft written, your job, what you would do. So the man from the resistance, he said, for you, you're 17, what do I write? Are you student? And my father said, no, I really have to work. He was from a very, very poor family. So, and he was working in Normandy, he was working as a dyer. So he said, no, you really need to put dyer because I need to earn a living. I can't be a student. And then the man from the resistance was very interested. He said, oh, you are a dyer, so maybe you know how to erase inks. They were, because they were, all the names were written by hand with inks. And the fact is that my father, during his teenagers years, he used to be a dyer, and he used to be. He really wanted to make some studies. He couldn't because he had no money, but he was like a self-learner. And as a dyer, he made a lot of experiences of chemistry. And he went to buy all the books he could find about chemistry. And as for fun, he tried an experience, which was to find an ink which was totally indelible. So he made a lot of researches about inks. And he didn't find any indelible inks. So when he met this guy from the resistance, he said, yes, I know how to bleach all the inks because I made experiences. And the man from the resistance, he said, we only have one problem, which is the use in all the with one ink, which is the Waterman blue ink. And it was an ink very, very used, so there was a real problem. And he said, okay, but what is it done of? He said it's metal blue. And my father just answered like that. Oh, it's very simple. You just need to use lactic acid. And the man was amazed because there were some chemists working on that, trying to find how come they could erase this ink. And so he gave him a new meeting 1 week later. And during this week, the resistance made some researches on my father to be sure that he was not a spy or something like that. And after the week, he proposed my father to join the resistance network. So that's how he began. They were working in the lab. There were a few people working in the lab with my father. So when he arrived, they decided that he would run the lab. And there were 4 of them, very, very young people. The oldest was 24 years old. The youngest was my father, he was 17. As a lot of resistance people were really, really young because they were the ones who had no kids to take care of. They were the ones who had less fear, nothing to lose. And they were, at the time he joined the resistance, then the roundup became more and more intense and more bigger and bigger. And so he just thought that trying to forge documents by erasing the names was not enough. They had too many demands. They really had, once they had to make papers for 300 children in 3 days. It was like almost impossible. So he decided to stop erasing the inks, but to create his own documents, with his own paper. So he decided to manufacture the papers with nothing. They had no, they didn't have money to do that. So he had to learn photo engraver to be able to reproduce the stamps. So in a very short time, he developed many skills to be able to respond to the demands of forged documents. And what else can I tell you? Yeah. Before, yes, you mean after the war? But before the end of the war, Paris was liberated in 1944, but the war was not finished, and he was 18, and he couldn't go back to Normandy. He had lost everything, and he's been hired by the army ministry for their intelligence service. Wow. As a forger still. The goal of his mission was to send spies, French spies, across the border to Germany, because the war was not over, but the Nazis knew they were going to lose, of course, thanks to you. And what they were doing was to destroy all the proofs of what they were, what they did, and mostly to try to destroy all the camps where they were doing medical researches on human beings and these kind of things. So what they wanted to do, French government then, they wanted to send spies speaking German, like people from Alsace with their German language, and to pretend they were Nazis and to take pictures, to take some proofs before they would destroy everything. So he's been doing this work, and it's not. It's important is that it's not only about carrying a Nazi passport. A spy would be sent by parachute, and if he were kind of, so that's what he was doing. And the particularity of my father's story, and you will see in the book, is that after the war he did not stop doing forgery. He continued for several causes, and he continued during 30 years of his life to be underground and to forge documents for all the causes that he found was that he thought were humanitarian in a humanitarian way important. So and he never get money. He never got money from this work, because he always wanted to be independent. He didn't want to be from a party, a political party, any political party, or any movement. He wanted to be free to say yes or no to a demand in function of the cause. So he had to earn a living while doing forgery, and as he learned photo engraver during World War II, he became a photographer to earn his living as a technician, and he did many jobs in photography, like for catalogs, for also fashion. Also fashion, and he used to do big giant photos for cinema, because at the time they would not shoot the movies outside. Everything was done in the studios, so he was doing the big pictures, photos on the sets, and so he did many things like that. And apart from that, he used to take artistic photos, and he's kind of an artist, to be true. He has always wanted to be one, but he did not have time to, and as he was underground, he could not be under the lights and doing something underground by the same time. So apart from that, he used to take a lot of pictures, of photos, all his life, and but he never shown. He has never shown them. Because he couldn't do exhibitions or things like that. His photos. Yeah, because he made a lot of sacrifices to during all this life, and so. But this sacrifice he did, not being an artist, could be
artistic.
Yeah. He could then become an artist, even in his late days. I mean, it was not too late. So now he's exhibiting his photographs. So I don't know if you have questions, because I guess the video will not work.
We'll give it one more try. While you're answering questions.
Okay.
And then I'll throw anything out.
I understand your father was compelled to forge banknotes and American currency and British pound notes also.
What?
Money.
No.
Oh, I thought I read that in the.
Did she say?
I thought I read that in the notice of the World War II book club. I'm wrong.
No. Yeah, he was. No, he was not doing that. Money, you say?
There was a German forger that did that.
Oh yes, there is a story like that which really happened, and there is a movie about that. He's another man. He's a German one. But the movie is really good. If you did not see it, you should. It's about a man, a Jewish man, a German Jewish man who was prisoner in a concentration camp. And he had some skills. He had really good skills, and he's been told by the Nazis to make forged money for the Nazis, and it would be like that he could stay alive. And he was not alone. There were some of other people interned in the camp that helped him to do that. Yeah, no, but that's my father.
Have you inherited any of this artistic talent?
In photography, unfortunately not, and doing forged documents, not at all. No, but what's true is that as my father is somebody who has always wanted to become an artist, my brothers and I became artists. I think we could do it because we were supported by him when at first we decided to do music, because at first I was a cello player, but he really supported us, and he has always told us, anything you want to do, you have to do it. I was impeached to do I couldn't do it, so you have to do it. And never mind if you think that there's no future in playing music or being an artist, do it anyway.
My family name is Farber, which is German for dyer.
Yeah.
Color.
And
Yeah.
there's a whole German company called IG Farben where they made dyes, which gave rise to antibiotics. First they made sulfa drugs, then they started making antibiotics right during the Second World War in Germany. That's the whole story of
They also
dye.
made Zyklon B.
And it's not the word Faber. Faber means in Latin to make.
Yes.
Farb is a color. Farben means colors. Not painters. Painters are maulers. So Farber, which is my name, was a dyer. But no one in the family was a dyer. But there was a couple of Farbers.
Maybe in your...
Well, way back.
Yeah, way back.
I have a story that you might like to hear, is that my mother was born in Poland 100 years ago, 103 years ago, in a town called Lodz, which is near Warsaw. And she was born Fela Naimark. Their house was bombed on the first day of the war, on September 1st, 1939, and from that point on they were running from the Germans and the Russians, who weren't any better than the Germans in those days. And my grandparents got a free ticket to Treblinka. But in order to survive, she joined the underground, and she changed her name, and she had false papers. And she changed her name from Fella Nymark to one. But without those false papers or without the forger, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a direct link to.
Yes, it's a part of the resistance we usually don't very talk about because of course he was not in the maquis, he was not carrying weapons, but of course if you needed to survive, you really needed these papers, and you needed so many because you needed your alimentation. Alimentation, do we say?
Ration card.
Ration cards.
Ration card, ID card. All the, sometimes you needed also like a certificate of baptism to assure that, to be sure that you would not be taken as a Jew, or a certificate of a wedding, of birth. So it was a lot of papers that you needed to have if you wanted to survive.
The other thing that was fairly common is she had two younger sisters who she got through the war. One of them was a very intelligent woman who eventually came, and the funny story was that she wound up in a displaced persons camp in Bad Gastein, Austria, which is near Kitzbühel, the ski resort. And she met, in order to survive, she self-taught herself to be a nurse. So she became always loved the medical profession. So she wound up as the nurse in the camp for the Jews.
Yes.
And they had actually, it was a wonderful town. They actually commandeered all the ski resort hotels, and the Jews lived there. But they needed she needed some medicine, so she went to the head of the displaced person camp in Bad Gastein, and went to the commandant of the camp in order to get some medicine.
Yes.
And this gentleman had been fighting. He'd been in the army in Patton's army. And he wanted to do something for the Jews, so he joined UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Rehabilitation Association, and he applied to be an assistant commandant of a camp. And when he got to the camp, the commandant never showed up, so he became the commandant.
Oh.
And that was my father.
Oh. Okay.
So when they met and they fell in love. I'm not sure they fell in love. My mother saw the stripes on her shoulder. She wanted to survive. So my father sent my mother's two sisters to America before they were married to live with his parents, as a condition of getting married.
Yes.
And my middle aunt, who is now 98 years old, turned out to be established the first Holocaust education course in America, and became the education director of the National Holocaust Museum. And one of the four nominees of Bill Clinton to oversee the building of the World War II memorial.
Okay.
And all of this because of forged paper.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Did the French government ever recognize your father?
Yes, of course. They did. Yes, and he was. Yeah, of course they did. They did recognize all the people who fought during resistance. Of course, my father did never do that to get medals.
Oh right, no, I'm just
But
curious.
yes,
They did that.
they did. Yes.
I have an interesting story. That I grew up near a lithograph company, and during the Second World War, the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which prints currency, they couldn't handle the demand for the invasion currency.
Yeah.
So it used to be done like I could see the place from my house.
Oh.
And one of the lithographers there was a great artist. And late in his life, his kids did a book called Dreams of an Artist, which I must have given 24 copies as presents. But the ability to do that type of thing does translate incredibly well.
Yes, so when I think it's important, really it's very important now to continue to talk about that. That's what I thought when I realized that my father did all this, and the reason why I wanted to write the book was that the last witnesses. the last witnesses of what happened then are disappeared, are disappearing, and for the new generation, if we don't right now take all the testimonies, or there will not be any more. So that was my thought about doing the book. And the other thing about doing the book, you will see, I wanted it to be written not like a historical book. I made a lot of researches and a lot of interviews with my father and all the people who were still alive. But I really wanted the book to be easy to read, because if not, the youth would not be able to would not want to read it. You see, and now my father goes. He loves to do that. He loves to go to talk to students, high school students, and they like a lot. They are very interested, and he was very surprised the first time we went to see a high school class. He told me, but Sarah, do you think they are going to be interested? I'm like a dinosaur, he said. He was laughing at it. I said, yeah, of course he will. Everybody is interested in that. It's just that they don't know about it. So you will have to tell them. And yeah, it was. Yeah.
What is the title of your book?
Adolfo Kaminsky, which is the name of my father. Adolfo Kaminsky, A Forger's Life.
And it's for sale right on the corner here, right after the lecture, if anybody's interested.
And it'll be signed.
Yes.
Just a quick little story, and it's got nothing to do with the generations of all the experience in this room, but our 10-year-old granddaughter, it's her birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday.
She is, for some reason, I'm so sorry, she is very interested in World War II,
Oh, wow.
about women, paratroopers.
Wow.
In the library in her school, they had to get in more books on World War II so that little Anna Banana can read, not the Harry Potter. She is fascinated by the women from World War II. She's 10 today. The last 2 Halloweens, she has been a women paratrooper. Adolfo and I, we went on Google, we found the costumes, we sent her. She is just so engrossed, maybe because of Dick, her grandfather, because of his interest in the war.
Well, they're flying jets.
She is fascinated. We sent her books about World War II and women, and it started when she was 8. And she is,
One of the
she's in
problems,
Boston. She's in
Well, those
Boston.
cryptographers.
Pardon?
She'll be interested in those cryptographers.
Yes, but I wish she was here, because I'm sure there's, well, I don't know, but I mean, she's 10 today, but she started since she was 8. She literally cannot get enough. It's mainly about the women in World War II and what they went through and what they have done, accomplished, because her mother is very, she's women, I mean, she's very progressive and she's whatever. But Anna got into this, and so the library at school said to her mother, we have to get more books for Anna because we're
That's
going to read.
the issue. I was at a Stalag Luft III reunion, I think 3 years ago, and there were 13 survivors, and we gave them all wine, and for 2 hours they told stories, and someone said, kids should know about this.
Yeah.
And I raised my hand, and I have grandkids that are that age, that I have one that's into history. There were a few books, but since then, like Laura Hillebrand wrote a children's version of her book. And you need that type of thing, but you look at the books, like 7th and 8th grade, there's no World War II books.
You're absolutely right.
There's a big void there,
There is.
because, you know, I was at another reunion, the 57th Bomb Wing, with
It
a
is.
dozen guys that came in at New Orleans last year,
Yeah.
and they went to a school, and they were there for a few hours, and the whole school was there, and these kids were into it, and they were elementary and junior high school. So the issue is, there aren't easy to read books, so what you've done is a good thing, if it's an easy to read
Yes.
book.
Yes. I tried not to, I couldn't say everything. I just wanted the book to say the truth, of course, but to have rhythm. And I was thinking of the youth doing that, because I know that they can be very easily distracted. Yeah.
Do the kids in France get much of an education on World War II history? Because in this country, they get about a week.
Oh,
You're absolutely right.
we have more than that. We have much more than that. I don't know if it's enough, and I don't know if it's done in the best way. But we have much more than that.
I was thinking, I just read a book on something in the shadows of the French resistance. And they were talking about at the end, some people were really de Gaullists, some people weren't. What was your father? Was he any political affiliation?
He was very young, so at the time he would not say that he was following a party. He never been in a party
Well, apparently the resistance was divided.
From England, he asked a man called Jean Moulin to go to France and to put all the resistance network under the same group. This group was called the Mouvement de Libération Nationale, MLN, and all the resistance movements had to work together. They hated each other for some, but they had to do it, and they did. But for example, some of them were communists, some of them was a very extreme right. They didn't want to talk to each other. But for the forgery thing, my father was doing forgery for all of them.
But he didn't end up on one side or another?
No. No.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Books are for sale on the side here if you want to pick up a copy. It's unbelievable. She's only touched on the surface of what her father did. It's an amazing story, and his self-taught ability and his mastery of chemistry and what he helped solve for them. It's truly amazing. It's impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for
Do you ever forge any of your report cards? Your signature?
I'm going to just know yet that my father has been a forger. I could have maybe had an idea, because when I was something like 12 years old, I wanted to hide a bad mark that I had. And so I didn't try to reproduce my father's signature because it's really, really difficult to do it. So I did with my mother's signature, which is much simpler. But in fact, I was not very good because my mother saw it and she recognized that it was not her signature. So I was really.
Did you blame your father?
No, but then no. You know, I was raised in a very straight. Yeah. So I was feeling very bad. I was alone in my room and waiting for my father to come back, and I was very, very worried about what he would say, and was hiding under the blanket. And he arrived in the room, and he sat on the bed with the paper on his head, and he just laughed. But he laughed like, and he burst out laughing. And I couldn't understand why, so I just looked at him and he said, "Sarah, have you seen this signature? It's much too small. What did you do?" And I was just very happy that he was not angry with me, so I didn't say anything. But later on, when I realized that he had been a forger, I reminded this story. And I said, "Oh, okay, I now understand why he was laughing." So.
Thank you.
Very good.